Play the quiet game starting now. Okay. So today I'm gonna be so honest. I'll start out by apologizing. Taxes are pretty boring to talk about. They're pretty hard to make interesting. They're pretty hard to make understandable, because I, for one, am not an accountant, nor have I worked in finance. And two, taxes are designed to be confusing on purpose. So what we're going to do is give it our best shot and come up with some definitions of some common tax terms that will be relevant to you guys once you start actually filing and having to worry about taxes in a serious level. So the way we're going to do that is similar to how we had our credit card discussions. If you go to your Thursday agenda in the replies, it'll load for a second. These are your groups that I'm going to be rolling the dice to call on to come up with the answers to the questions that I'm about to show you. So, for example, group one today is just Caitlin, Sophie, and Caleb. You guys are all group one. If you want to join another smaller group, I would understand. Group two is Elias to Chris. So you guys are all chatting with one another, coming up with the answers to the questions that we just showed here. Group three is Namitha to Taylor. You guys are all chatting with one another. Connor, Reese. Who's in between Connor and Reese? I forgot. Anyway. Okay. Group four is opposite group three. So that's Porter to Jill. You guys are talking with one another. Group five is closest to me. That is Nick to, I think, Hashim. And then group six is Isha to Mohammed, if I remember correctly. So everybody be familiar with your groups. This is the back of the room, the front of the room. This is your clusters of 6. This is the numbers that I'm going to be rolling to call on. So like in second period, I called on somebody and they had not come up with an answer. They had not discussed with their group, and it took us a little bit to get to a point where they had an answer. So you guys should all have answers to the questions, which are, I've talked about them enough, in the replies right here. I have 2 videos to show you guys today. We're going to start with Taxes 101. Your questions that you're trying to define are, what is AGI? What is a tax exemption? What is a tax expense? And what is a tax credit? The video is going to go into far more detail than we can handle in the short video time and the capacity of a Friday brain. I've got one too, don't worry. But these are the things that I'm looking for answers to from this video right here. Okay? Is everybody clear on what you're supposed to be? Actually, that was a bad idea. Let me do this instead, because I wrote them down on purpose in a much simpler way. All right, here's your questions that I'm looking for answers to. I'm going to play the video, roll some dice, and then we'll call on some folks to share. I'm hearing for 4 people today, or 4 groups today, I mean. One last thing before I play the video, you guys can choose to elect a group speaker, someone who is going to be the one who speaks for your group if they get called on, or you guys can just shout out the answers when your group gets called on, so that you have, I can tell that you were discussing. So anyways, enough setup. Let's get into this video. Where we go? Oh, just kidding. You guys have 5 to 7 minutes with your groups to come up with answers to any of these questions, because once they get answered, then that's all they have. So if your question that you researched gets answered, you want to make sure you have a backup plan in case you do get called on. So 5 to 7 minutes. Tell me what AGI is. It's an acronym. Well, I want to know what a tax exemption and a tax expense are. And then finally, tell me what a tax credit is at the end of this 5 to 7 minute discussion. Okay. You can use Google. You can rewatch the video. You can use your pre-existing knowledge on taxes or business or finances of that type. But in 5 minutes, I'm going to roll the dice and I'm going to call on one of your 6 groups. So start chat. Now we're unmuted. All right, 10:05. Go time for this first video. I'm going to roll my dice. If you need a reminder for what your groups are, they are in the thread for yesterday in the replies. We're going to start with group number 6, which I believe is Nick through Abdu or Hashim. So, of these 4 questions, which one did you guys come up with an answer to? And it says, look, it says 6. It's legit. So, okay. All right, what does that mean? You sure it's annual? All right, so annual gross income is how much you make per year. Even though I do think, let me check real quick. No, I'm not sure. I thought it was adjusted because it was after, it was your income minus your deductions. Let me check real quick. Yes, okay, so you got most of it, but the A does actually stand for adjusted. It's not annual. It's related to the year. Adjusted. So it's related to the year. So how much you make per year minus your deductions. There's just that last little tax bit that we need to add on the end here of our definition. Good job. Okay, cool. All right, so tax exemptions on the table, expenses on the table, tax credit is on the table. Okay, group number 2, which should be Elias to Chris. Which one of these 3 do you want to answer? Elias? Oh, tax credit. Okay, you can take tax credit. All right. A dollar for dollar reduction in the amount of tax owed to the government. Dollar amounts reduction on taxes owed, right? Mm-hmm. Okay, cool. And we'll figure out other ways how you can get tax credits. A lot of them are teaching actually offers one, which is pretty cool. So that's just a monetary reduction on the amount of taxes owed. Exactly right. Okay, thank you, group 2. 2 more folks. Group number 3 is next, which should be Namitha to Taylor, if I'm remembering correctly. So group number 3, you can tell me about an exemption or you can tell me about an expense. Which one of those did you wanna share? Any one of you can speak up at any point. Which one was that? Is that an exemption or an expense? Okay, so an exemption, can you give it to me one more time? Got to compulsory payment before it started sounding like gibberish. No, it's not your fault, it's taxes. Which would probably be the government. Okay, so let's put this into some terms that make a little bit, Connor, this is not me saying your terms don't make sense. This is taxes being confusing. So a lot of this is very official. A lot of it is very like talking about what does this mean? What does this entail for you, the consumer, the taxpayer? So tax exemptions are reductions or removals. We got that so far. Of the person liable, so this is of you, for you. Compulsory. Okay, reduction removal for your required payments that the government offers you is what imposed by the ruling power. Hi, welcome back. Offered to you by the government. Okay, does that make a little bit more sense? Tax exemption is the removal of any required payments that you may have offered to you by the government based on specific things, which we'll get into what those things are. Okay, thank you. Perfect. That's exactly what I'm looking for. All right. Final group is going to tell me what a tax expense is. That would be group number 1. Did we already hear from you? No. Okay. Can you tell me what a tax expense is? You said standard business what? Accounting rules. Okay. So we're gonna do the same thing and turn this into some more. Again, this is not a reflection of your answer, Sophie. This is a reflection of taxes being confusing. So if I could spell any of these right. We got the amount money business owes. Let me put this into full terms. Busyness owes based on standard business accounting rules, which just breaks down to how much do you actually owe. It's influenced by a lot of factors, which are these standard business accounting rules, but it really boils down to how much do you actually know? Okay, perfect. Thank you guys. This is exactly, say that a lot. I'm trying to, anyway. This is perfect. So I'm gonna, once we're done with the second video, I'll post both of these notes to your thread so you guys have access to the thought processes of the class. We can work with some definitions here. And we're gonna do this process one more time with a second video because that's about all the capacity that my brain has for taxes. So I can imagine that your guys' is even more fried, and I get it, I understand. Okay, so your next set of questions is about federal taxes, which will show, will be relevant from the video here. I wanna know what a dependent is. I wanna know what an independent is. I want you to tell me when tax day is and when you can start filing your taxes. And then finally, do you actually need to file? And we'll go over the answers to that the same way that we just did on this one. So let me queue up that video. That is second period, future ready. There we go, we want third period. Get this out of here. It's this video right here, and I'm gonna do this. You got 5 minutes once again to come up with the answers to these questions, 5 to 7 minutes. So at about 10:20, yeah, 10:20, perfect. It just clocked over. I'm gonna roll my dice. Same situation, looking for 4 answers. This one's a 2-parter. You can use Google, you can use your prior knowledge. I'm not trying to test you in the sense that you have to come up with it on the fly. Use your resources. Look around, talk to people who've experienced these things. I know some of you work, so that means some of you have paid taxes. Maybe you've seen you want to go into accounting or business and you've talked about more about finances in that direction, okay? Use that knowledge. You can apply it here. But I do want to know the answers to these questions in the next 5 minutes. All right, let's go. Let's talk more about federal taxes this time. Get a little bit of information on there. I got my Zoom pop up ready. All right, so we're gonna roll the dice. See, our first lucky group is group number 1 off the top. If you want to define a dependent and independent, tell me when tax day is, or tell me if you need to file.
I'll define a dependent.
Okay.
And that is a qualifying child or relative who relies on you for financial support.
Don't look at the spelling yet. I'll fix it in a second. Oh, that was not even close. Okay, so qualifying child or relative who relies on you for financial support. Is that all the definition for tax purposes really cares about? Does it make sense? You are dependent on that person for financial support. Exactly right. Okay, cool. Thank you, group number 1. All right, next group. We heard from group 1 is group number 2. It's legit. It's on the dice. Group number 2. Do you guys want to define an independent? Tell me when tax day is, or tell me if you should file your taxes. Okay.
You can start filing this in January.
January 15th, you said? Okay. As early in the back, I can hear you guys chatting. Let's wait just 2 seconds, please. As January 15th, you said, right? And that's of the same year. It's all got to be related to the year that you're trying to file for. And you usually file for the previous year. Like this April, I filed for my 2023 taxes, even though it is 2024. It's usually a year behind. Okay, thank you. Group 1 and 2 are clear. Let's see who else can go. Group 1. Group 1 again. You're never going to believe it. Oh my God. Okay. Group 4. There we go. Group number 4. Okay. Group 4 is, that's Kylie to Jill, because Porter's not here right now. He's in the bathroom or something. He's in the hall. You guys have the option to define an independent or tell me if you need to file or not. Which one would you like to do? You can give me the Google definition. It is okay. I just want to hear what you guys discussed in that time. Yeah, Carly, what's up? Okay, so Fed taxes, income, it's income related. What else was related to federal taxes? Okay. And these are, yes, you do need to file based on these criteria. Okay. If you work. Then yes. Okay, what about if you don't work? Does it say anything about that? Or did you guys discuss anything about that, I mean? It's okay if not. The gist is basically, yes, if you're working, you do need to file some kind of income related tax. And this is based on the state where you live and work. Washington, we do not have, I mean, I hope so. Hopefully I'm not admitting to an accidental tax crime here. But to my knowledge, Washington, we don't have to file separately. You just have to file federally. And then state taxes get taken care of. So now it's on video that I did that. So it's not going to hold up in court. All right. Thank you, group 4. That's perfect. All right. So 5 and 6, or 3, 5, and 6, I think is all that's left on the table. 4. Oh my God. This dice is broken. There we go. Group 5. Group number 5. Okay. Which is, I believe that's Isha to Mohammed or Andrew, whichever you guys got defining an independent. Can you tell me what an independent is? You said obligation? Exactly right. So most of you, if you're still living with your parents or your guardians, responsible for your tax obligation. You're likely a dependent, even if you do exceed the threshold. Your parents probably filed you as a dependent for your tax. God, keep talking and speaking at the same time, and it just doesn't happen. Okay. Once you become independent, once you basically either you become 25 years of age or you make enough money on your own and you're not dependent on your parents in a figurative sense, in like a non-defined sense. That usually means you're not asking for money or like borrowing cars or stuff like that, which is totally normal at your guys' age. But once you age out of that, the government considers you an independent, and then you got to file your own tax return and are responsible for your tax obligation unless you want to go to jail, which I don't imagine any of us do. So great job. These are some really good working definitions to at least get some exposure to taxes and some of the kind of pitfalls that could happen. Maybe not pitfalls exactly, but it's good to know these terms so that if you're asked or when they come across you in tax time, you know, you have an idea of what they could mean. So that's all I want to talk about with taxes today. I imagine you guys are feeling the same. If I could project for a second. With this remaining time, you have 2 assignments here, CC.1 and CC.2, which are due tonight. You need to finish those up sooner than later. Thank you. Welcome back. And then I'm going to put the questions or the answers to the questions we came up with in the replies here, as well as the Zoom room once it's done processing. Okay. Thank you guys. I appreciate you bearing with a longer lecture on a Friday. We're off the air. The rest of this time is yours, but do remember CC.1 and 2 is due tonight at midnight. Thank you. Much appreciated.